Hey there, folks. Foggy here. Welcome to day 206 of my year of solo board gaming, considered by many to be ill-advised and stupid. This is a game I just recently picked up called Last Aurora, and this is actually my second recording of this. Actually, I think it might be my third. I did a recording and actually put it up. It's in draft mode right now, but I decided that I really did not. I don't. I feel like I just did not do enough to make sure that I got the rules right. So I'm doing a completely brand new from scratch board game. In Last Aurora, you are a convoy attempting to reach the Aurora, trying to get, I guess, off planet or into a safe haven or something. You've seen the movie Greenland. I think it's kind of like Greenland, which is actually a really good movie. I would recommend watching it. The idea is that you want to catch up with this ship. However, the ship is slowly moving turn after turn and eventually might even take an early departure. You are attempting to get fame points and hopefully catch up with the ship. You don't necessarily have to catch up with the ship to win. You along the way, you are going to be discovering things, exploring, picking up resources, and dealing with enemies along the way. When you are playing the solo mode, you set it up for 2 players, but you are given a special automata board and automata deck, and they start off with 2 survivors. And I will tell you, the thing that I've noticed really quickly is that in the previous game, it is really easy for the automata deck just basically max out on survivors. And if they do that, because you're playing 1 card for every autonoma survivor, you're pretty much going through the entire deck every single turn. And that means that you're going to be taking a lot of damage and a lot of radiation. And just generally, it's bad. You start off the game by arranging a deck over here, taking out certain cards. There are 3 phases to this. There's 1, 2, and 3. Then there's special objects decks. These are worth more points. There's a special firing deck over here that will determine who gets hit, who doesn't get hit, where do they hit, and so on. Finally, you have your own board over here. You have some fame points. For some reason, the goal of this game is to gain fame, which is weird when you get right down to the theme of the game. The fame thing is weird, but you are attempting to basically move up and down this fame chart. If you move up so far that you would advance even further, you get to fix some damage to your convoy. And if you go even further down, you do some damage to your convoy. But you start off right here. You have survivors that will go out and explore. Each of them has an explorer strength of 1 through 3. And the numbers up here indicate how much exploration skill you need to be able to go out that far. So, for example, the co-pilot can really only go out to the rusty container, and the leader can go to anything. Each of these will have a card underneath it, as well as bonus actions that you can do. The bonus actions are optional. And this symbol is probably the most confusing symbol in game history. That is heal irradiation. So this symbol over here is gain irradiation, which means that you're going to put one of these on your characters. And if you ever put enough to basically, if they ever have an equal amount of radiation as to their explorer skill, for example, in this case 1 and 1 radiation, they die. This will just simply lower his skill down to 2. If he gets 3 of those, he would die. It's rare that you would ever have no survivors left, but if you do, you lose the game. And if you do have one of these and you go to, say, 2 here or 1 here, you basically can get rid of that. Survivors can team up. So if you had another survivor that only had an exploration of 1, the 2 of them together could go over to 2, any of these 2s here. So you always sum those up. And that may have advantages where you've got 2 survivors that have a strength of 2 and they're both irradiated or contaminated, however you want to put it. They can go here and as their bonus action, get rid of that contamination and then do whatever's down here. These cards will constantly be refreshing and updating, both because of the autonoma and your own actions, and as well at the end of each round, the whole thing gets sort of reset with only 2 cards remaining. So don't get too attached to anything that you see. I'm going to go ahead and randomly determine who's going to move first and who's going to explore first. So the automata, who is playing red here, will get to explore first. I will get to explore second. The way the turn structure works is that in this order is the exploration. In this order is movement and attacking. So even though they get to explore, I will get to move first, which means I might potentially be able to get this food or this gas, which would be really nice. And then in addition, if any enemies come out, I'll be able to fire first. So that'll be a big plus. You have 3 different types of resources. You have food, you have fuel, and you have ammo. And these can basically help you do different things. For example, ammo will help you attack enemies, and food will help you heal people, get them ready to go faster, as well as increase exploration. And fuel is just simply necessary to go. You are going to need 6 fuel over the course of this game, roughly speaking. You have all of your trucks down here have movement speed. So for example, I've got a 2 here. That means this truck by default will move 2 spaces when I spend a fuel. In addition, some cards will have pluses on them. So this might have a +1, for example. That means that gets to do 2 + 1, and then I can spend another fuel to add 2 more to it. Whereas if I had this one just a 3 with no plus, 2 fuel would allow me to go 6. Fuel allows you to go your base movement for as many fuels as you play. You have weapons ranging from 1 to 4, and each of these will have special things on here that indicate what happens. You can either miss, you can hit, or you can jam your weapon. You don't want to jam your weapon. That would be very, very bad. Finally, you have little damage tokens here. These basically take up spots on here, and you have to heal them, repair them, either by going to 1, 2, or there's a character that can also do some fixing as well. And that's something to keep in mind. You can expand your convoy out. I'm actually going to slide this over a little bit because I'm going to need the extra space most likely. And I'm going to slide this up just a little bit to give me some extra space. But basically, you can have anywhere up to 4 cars. There's a number on here that will indicate the limit. And for example, this one is a limit of 2. That means I can add a second car here to the end. And then there are devices that you can put on top of each of these. So you can have a 2x4 grid that shows you everything about your convoy. Ideally, you want to try to get something that has like a 3 truck or a 4 movement, something that really goes. You are going along this path here. There's a bunch of spots here. And in some vehicles may have the ability to take shortcuts. That means, for example, here or here, you'll be able to bypass multiple spots and just simply go from here to here or from here to here, and that'll shorten your trip. In the end of the game, the person who it's not necessarily who gets to the Aurora, but there are certain win conditions, much like Escape Plan. Depends on whether or not, and in Too Deep as well, if certain people, if one person gets to the Aurora, or if nobody gets to the Aurora, it changes how the scoring works in the end. But the idea is that you want to try to get the most fame points, which again just seems really antithetical to me, because you are survivors trying to get to safety to ensure the survival of humankind. And so I'm not exactly sure how fame points work into that. The rusty containers here are always what you start off with as far as exploration goes. We now are going to deal out a few more cards. We've got Warwolves. Those are going to be our first enemy. We've got a shooter, which we really want to get, and then a gas station. So survivors will come out, and you can get those, and those will add to your people that you can work with. And what's nice about that is that the more people you have, the more things you can do for exploration. But you have to have spaces on here for the survivors. So that is something to keep in mind. In fact, it's not a bad idea to get a rusty container just at the beginning, just to get it out of the way. Let's go ahead and fill this up. You're going to find locations like this that have all sorts of resources. You'll have enemies, and then you'll also have encounters too, but we don't have any encounters. There are no events or encounters, or whatever they're called. There are none like that in the first deck. There's a nasty one near the end in deck 3 that will cause the Aurora to just simply jump up to the red spots, making it harder to get to. And the way that this is going to work is that there are going to be 5 phases. We're going to do an exploration, arrest, movement, firing weapons, which is a ridiculously comically short explanation of everything that goes on in that round, and then the end of round. Before we even get going, though, we're going to deal out 2 cards for the Automata. Do this one more shuffle. It's not really going to matter because they're going to get a whole bunch of cards no matter what. And then since they are exploring first, we'll go ahead and reveal one of their cards. And they get 1. Sorry, my phone just made a noise. Just checking. It's a video message from somebody who is trying to convince me to be anti-abortion. Good luck with that. Okay, so the first thing that comes up is a 1 with a little arrow on it. Now these indicate that it's going to basically try to improve its convoy. It's going to get rid of this. There are a couple different actions that it can take. But when it says 1 or 3, it's always these two slots, and then it'll do whatever it needs to based on that. Then there's some information about what if there's an enemy there, and then if it's the movement phase, it's going to do something else. But for now, we're just going to let that sit there. And I'm really not sure how this is a bit of a table hog, but I think I just have to find the right configuration for everything. And then because it took that one, also when it does pick up a convoy, it tries to heal damage to its column or to the left of it. So you start here. This is the indication of what round you're on. It would start looking down here and just figuring out if there's any damage tokens that it can remove. It's not going to go to the right, and that's something that's really important to remember. Fortunately, though, we don't have to worry about that. So now that it is explored, everything moves down a little bit. And we're going to deal another card to take its place. We get armor, which would be really nice. That's actually really helpful because basically it is there to help with damage. But we are going to run into an issue where we really just don't have a whole lot of people. I'm going to... Yeah, I think especially because we've got the enemy coming out, I'm going to go ahead and eat a food. Do I want to do it this way? I'm going to go ahead and use the leader. This is a waste of how much ability they have. I'm going to have the leader go out and get this shooter because we really want that person for the enemy fighting in the next round. So the leaders, normally when you use a survivor, it goes to the exhausted zone. In this case, we're not going to put them in the exhausted zone. We're going to put them in the rest zone. The leader, that's the leader's special ability. We pick up the survivor here, and we're going to go ahead and put that survivor. Anyone we pick up from the line here goes into the rest zone. There are sort of 3 zones the survivors can be in. Exhausted means that you've just used them to explore. Then rest means that they've rested from the exhausted zone and they can get moved into here. And if you rest while they're in here, you go here. So usually it takes 2 rounds for, without any other considerations, it will take 2 rounds for a person to go from here to all the way back around to become available again. But since we've done that, we're going to move down here. Now, in this case, we don't really need the extra action. We don't have anything to repair. So we've got a little baggage rack. I think that is the cutest name ever, by the way. You'll notice that some of these, by the way, these boxes have specific things in them. That just simply means that you can only do certain things with those. So, for example, the armor here will contain damage. This can be used for anything. Sometimes you'll see food or fuel. Sometimes you'll see a survivor icon or a weapon. Those are the things that you want to keep in mind. We're going to flip the next card here. This is 2. Now this means that it will look at all of these and try to figure out what it wants to do. Its first order of priority is to gather resources. And there is a resource on here, so it will do that. Its second priority would have been to gain a survivor. Third would have been to discard a convoy piece. Again, that will get rid of the convoy here, and then also try to fix damage if it can. And then discard encounter. And basically, that is looking at an encounter and just getting rid of it. So in this case, it's going to go to the resources. It's going to look at the left-hand side of the resources and take those. All right. And then that's it for that. I still have one more person here, and there is a part of me that wants to grab the rusty container just so that it would be available. Because what's going to happen is we're probably going to take some damage. We don't have to worry too much about the werewolves right now, but I would like to get some extra spots here. I do need to fill in, forgot for the shooter, I do need to add him in as an extra. So I think I am going to go ahead and use our good person down here to go ahead and grab this rusty car, put this on the end, and she is going to eat some food. And what eating food does is allow her to move from exhausted to rest. That means she'll be available for the movement round, which I really want. And the rest of these are going to come down. And we're going to go ahead and replace this one. Machine gun, that would have been really useful to have. That is something I do want to try to get on this next turn. Okay, so now we go to the rest phase. For the rest phase, I move everybody who's in exhausted over to rest, and I move everybody who's in rest over to active. So everybody's active this round, which means the shooter's going to get a chance to fire and do some damage. The automata is going to rest, and when they rest, they eat any food that they have, and basically that allows them to draw 2 more cards, which will give them some additional items, things that happen to me, which sucks. Okay, so we do have to take into account the movement phase, and then there are 3 end of round actions, and these end of round actions will hit you every single time, and you will get sick of them, trust me. So the next thing that's going to happen is that we are going to move to the movement round before we do the ambush. The movement round basically means that, and you'll go in the reverse order. So they got to explore first, I get to move first. So with this movement round, I will get to move 2, plus because I have a co-pilot here, I get to move an extra 1 space. I do have to use a fuel to do this. If I don't have a fuel, I can't move. So 1, 2, 3, I get to grab some food, which will be good. I enjoy food. Food is good. And now the automata gets to move, and I'm just going to quickly check something. So the automata will always move even if they don't have fuel. And that is one of the things that's a little frustrating. All right, so it's going to get +2 here. It's going to get another 1 for each of the fuels that it has, and it will use up all its fuel. It will not conserve any. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and it will now be in the lead. So, and it gets to pick up that fuel and add it to its resources. And that is pretty much it for... that is pretty much it for the movement. Now, there are times, there is one of these that will say... before movement, if the authority... Oh, I forgot to give him a bullet. Crud. All right, well, he's going to gain a bullet because of this card right here. Okay, so now we go on to the ambush phase. The fire weapons phase, actually, I should say. Phase 4, fire weapons. It's a whole ton of crap. So first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take any enemy, and they are going to ambush. And each enemy has a value from 1 through 6 that you'll see in the upper left here. And you'll pair them with one of the 2 cards that say 1 to 2 on it. Now, there's loot on the back of these, but otherwise they are indistinguishable. So we'll pair it up like this, and we'll make it so that we can see sort of like that. And we'll spawn... Sorry, you have to see my bald head up here. It will spawn up in the region that the farthest convoy is. So if this convoy, if the automaton actually managed to get all the way up here, it would actually spawn in the coastal region and only affect the coastal region. You cannot fire on enemies that are in a different region than you, and you cannot be fired upon by enemies in a different region for you. That's something that's good to remember. However, that is where the enemy is going to spawn. When you are spawning enemies from the line, you do not replace them. That becomes important because otherwise you would lose out on certain things. We will lose these 2 cards at the end of the round. We will move these 2 all the way down, and that'll make this really good to get, because I have a feeling that we are going to be in the lead for... oh, and that's the other thing I forgot to do. Crud. Okay, so... Sorry, I'm going to back up here for a moment. At the end of the movement round, whoever is in the lead goes on the right, and whoever's behind is going to go on the left. So we're now in this order. The fire weapons phase will now happen in the reverse order that the movement did. The automata will get to go first. I'll get to go second. All right, but they go up there. They are now going to also do damage. Each convoy receives 1 damage in their upper area. So we have no upper area right now, so we're not going to get any damage, which is good. The automata, however, we're going to reveal a card from the outcome deck. Now, this thing over here, you're going to go through this a lot. We've got B, then A down here on the bottom. There will be any numbers from A through D, but basically when you see B or C or D or A, it's going to get 1 damage wherever that row is in the round that you're in. So, for example, this is round 1. It's going to get 1 damage in the food. It damaged my food, man. All right, and then that's it for the ambush. It is just 1 damage. You do a different outcome card for each damage. So if it had actually done 2 different things, you would draw a second card and then do that. So now it is going to get to fire. It has 2 ammo, but it can only fire as many guns as it has. Right now it's got 1 gun. So, and you can put the ammo on the gun to remember that you've used it. But now it will reveal a card to show what happens. So it reveals a card. It's got one, the gun level is 1. So it will go ahead and hit that particular enemy. So we'll put damage on it. In addition, we are going to go ahead and take one of these target cards. And that's going to go on the very first target to the left there. The fame then goes up by 1 because you got a hit. We now go back over to me. It's going to go back and forth depending on how many guns you have. I've got 1 ammo. I'm going to use that on the gun. Plus, I've got the shooter. The shooter gets to do 1 additional damage for the first enemy I hit. However, that's not going to be important right now, unfortunately. So here, I managed to get 1 damage. So that is enough. I'm going to take one of my tokens. I'm going to put it on B. We're going to move my fame up by 1. And then, because that is enough damage, I'm not going to go through I'll go through the ceremonial. There we go. The enemy is now damaged. It dies. The werewolves were a quick and easy enemy to take care of. Good Lord, this card will not come off. There we go. We'll put that over here. These go back. We also look at who's going to get loot. And that is going to take me a moment just to make sure that I'm doing this correctly by the rules. There are so many rules to this game. There are. I mean, the phase 4 thing is the ridiculous one. It's not difficult to understand, I feel. Okay, so we're going to reveal another outcome card to see who gets the loot. That's actually what I was looking up. So in this case, C and then A. Now, if you look at this thing, you're going to notice that each of us are covering a specific thing. So there's nobody covering C, so we're going to ignore that. Instead, we're going to go to A. Red is going to get the loot, which, screw you, Red. So we're going to take our little tokens back. We'll take the damage back. We're going to put this loot. I don't think we actually reveal it. We'll just put it face down. So we don't know what loot is remaining. We know that there's 1 other remaining. All right. And the other thing I wanted to find out, so this is only indicating who can get the loot. However, anybody who had a damage token on there, for every damage token that they have, they will get 1 object at least. So we will get an object out of this deck. We got Welding Torch, any phase, repair 3 damage. That is going to be useful. All right, so now we're done with the firing round phase. We're going to go to the end of the round. The end of the round, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. If we have more fame than the Automata truck, we don't, so we're not going to worry about that. There was no end of round stuff on here. Autonoma gains 1 healing of contamination, and I get 1 contamination. So I am going to go ahead and give this to, I think I'm going to give it to the leader. Yeah, I'm going to give it to the leader. And then finally, we must add 1 damage to our convoy. We can add it anywhere we want. We can put it wherever we'd like. We do have to get rid of these ammos. They've both been used. And then finally, we're going to, well, not finally. There's no finally in this game. I should stop using that word. We're going to get rid of these 2 cards. They're going to go away. We're going to slide these cards down to the 1 and 2 position, and we're going to add 3 more cards in their place. So we've got another machine gun, looking just as pretty. We've got a medic, and we've got a mechanic. The mechanic would be very nice. So we got a bunch of survivors here, which means that the Automata will probably pick up a survivor at some point. The Automata will now move their round marker to here. They'll heal the damage that's here. So they now have a second weapon that they can use, and we'll move the Automata, the Aurora, 1 space forward. All right, so now that's it. We now start the next round, and we get to explore. So my first order of business is to send our good fearless leader to go get a machine gun, so we have a better weapon to shoot from. So we'll get that. We have no weapons right now, but we'll at least get that. So the leader, again, goes to here. He'll also take advantage of the action that's up here, which is to heal himself from radiation, so he no longer has to worry about that. We slide everything down, and this is where I feel like I'm just not doing a good job of making sure I've got enough space for everything. We've got the supermarket. The supermarket's got lots of good stuff in it. We've got food, we got fuel, we got bullets. Oh, I forgot to deal out the Automata cards. The Automata will get 2 cards because they've got 2 survivors, which means I know that they're going to get the shortcut one, and it's another piece of damage. So something to keep in mind. They'll reveal their first one, which is the 3. They're going to go with 3, and they're going to take fuel. Boo. Movement phase. They're going to gain 1 survivor if they have more than 1 survivor. If you have more survivors than him. And then at the end of the round, we're going to get a damage to the convoy. Yay. All right, so the last one is going to be one of these here, and it'll probably be a survivor. Which means if I leave it alone, they're just going to keep the same amount of survivors. They'll just keep 3, which I think might not be a bad thing. Part of me wants to go for that second machine gun. I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do something a little radical here. I'm going to take both of these 3, or both of these. I've got no fuel this round. I think that's one thing that concerns me. It's so easy to miss the fact that you do want to keep going. You want to make sure that you're getting stuff. If I do fuel over here, I think both of them are going to then get contaminated, which I'd rather not have. Gain 1 fuel and add 1 contamination counter to a survivor involved in the action. All right. So I think what I'm going to do, this is going to be radical. I'm going to eat the food. That's going to raise my shooter from 2 to 3. He's going to go ahead and pick up these remaining items. He is also going to take advantage of the bonus action there to get some fuel. And that means that he's going to take a radiation token. Boo. This goes away, and we're going to get contaminated storehouse. Yay! Radiation. Contamination, whatever you want to call it. All right. Survivor over the Automata over here is going to reveal their action. Recruit a survivor, and they're going to go with the one on the left. So they basically just discard this. It doesn't really matter what it says on it, but they are going to get a survivor, which we kind of knew that they were going to do anyway because of this card right here. So it's okay. There was no way to keep them from getting a 3rd survivor. Rider Wolves are out. They'll become our enemy in the next round. We still have our co-pilot. And what I'm thinking is that I can either get the machine gun or I can get the little baggage rack. And I think what I want to do is I want to get the little baggage rack and leave the food for the shooter to come back out to help with the enemy now that he's out. So we're going to get this. We're going to put this above that. She's going to go here. And I forget when it's okay for them to eat food in terms of resting. I think it's during the rest. I just want to make sure I'm doing this by the book since I made so many errors. Okay, yeah, it's during the rest phase. So we're going to pick up the little baggage rack. Everybody comes sliding down by 1. We got a camper, which would be really nice. Now, one thing that you should know is when you replace, let's say I get the camper and I want to replace this car right here. Essentially what's going to happen is that this card is going to come out. Any resources or survivors will just simply get put to the side for the moment. You lose any damage that's on it, and then when you put this back in, you get to put whatever resources go back on it. Now, in this case, these spots are only for survivors and damage. So that is something to keep in mind. So if you had, for example, 2 fuel, you would then have to find someplace else to put the fuel. All right, but I have done all of my exploration. The Automata has done all of its exploration. We're now going to go on to the rest phase. It has no food, so it's not going to draw any additional cards. I am going to go ahead and use 1 food to bring my shooter back into play. My co-pilot is going to chill here. There is a strategy in this game, and I used it the first time I played it, and it worked pretty well, where you can actually hold back for a bit and wait to use your fuel with a better engine. And if you use it with a better engine, you are going to go rocketing way past where you need to be. Plus, the co-pilot has an ability. that if you are 6 behind, like let's say it gets this far ahead of me, I'll get a +1 to that. So not only will I get to use a bunch of fuel, I can then just sort of like zoom right up here with 1 extra movement, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it does make a difference. So I've used 1 food to move him here. Now these folks are going to rest. The leader comes out, the shooter comes out. And now we're going to do movement. So the movement for the automata, who is getting to move first, is going to be 2 + 1 + 1 for, 2 + 1. It's going to be 3. So 1, 2, 3. They land on a contamination symbol. That is going to contaminate one of their survivors. It is possible for the automaton to lose all its survivors. For that to happen, all of these folks have to be contaminated, and then they have to get another contamination. So if they get 2 more contamination and then 1 more after that without healing anybody, they'll lose 1 person off their survivor thing, which will change how many cards they get to draw each turn. But that is their movement. Now I get to plan my movement, and my thought is I have 1 fuel left. It really is just kind of garbage in terms of the fuel. Plus my pilot is not currently active. And so part of me is thinking maybe just go ahead and chill back here. It's not going to make much of a difference in terms of the enemy. The enemy is still going to attack both of us. We're both going to get some damage. I think I am going to chill. I'm going to chill back here. So with that having been said, the movement phase is now done. Now we're going to go on to the ambush phase. So the ambush comes out. We've got the rider wolves. They're going to be in the valley, and we're going to line it up like this. And I'm going to put this here so I don't have to reach quite as far. So the first thing that's going to happen is that they are going to ambush us. We have to take 1 damage somewhere in the bottom of our convoy. So fortunately, the rusted container has that extra spot, so we're going to take the damage there. We're now going to deal damage to the automata, and they're going to take damage on A. They're going to get hit right up here, which means they can't actually use their gun this round, which is yay. So that's going to move forward. No, that's not going to move forward. I'm sorry. That was my mistake. So now we get to fire. The movement and the enemy, the movement phase goes in the same order that the fire weapons phase goes in the same order of the movement. And again, we're still behind them, so it's still going to be red first, then green. So they're going to use they've got 1 bullet, so they're going to use it. And they're going to use it on this with this 1. So they're going to draw a card. I think I forgot one more thing. This tells you where to damage. So I actually should have damaged right here. That's my fault. I keep forgetting to pay attention to this side because this side just seems so unimportant. So first, they're going to fire with their 1. They do manage to get 1 hit, which is okay. I don't really think it's that helpful. All right. So I'm going to go ahead, and my soldier is going to use the 2 up here. We're going to flip this, and the 2 is 1 hit as well. So that is going to be enough. I also forgot to put target tokens on here. Like I said, this is incredibly involved. We're also both going to get a fame out of this. So we're both up at 2. All right, so we both did damage to it. The rider wolves are taken care of pretty quickly. We're now going to reveal 1 more card to see who gets the loot. And if it's always going to go from D down to A. It's just going to skip certain ones. So in this case, B over A, I get the loot. So we're going to give these folks back. And we're going to take the damage off here. And the rider wolves are going to go away. And we're going to reveal that we've got an armored baggage rack. We're going to put that up here. We're now full. Like, we can't put any more things anywhere else. But the nice thing about this is that's going to give us a couple more spots, and we're going to get 1 more point end of game. We can also, if I wanted to, I could replace the little baggage rack. I could just get rid of that and then put this in its place, which might be helpful if there's something better that comes along in terms of weaponry. But that is the fire round phase. So overall, we did pretty well. I think that worked nicely. I do know what's over here now too. So we're going to slide this forward. We're going to keep 2 cards, but we are going to say goodbye to the mechanic and goodbye to the machine gun. We're going to go ahead and take a look at here. Did I forget to do that? Yes, they should have gone one more forward, and they should not have somebody in contamination. I missed the fact that they were supposed to take a shortcut, which meant that they would actually go here, 2, 3, not this way. So that was my mistake. And I'm going to get one more damage to the convoy, and I'll go ahead and put the damage up here. So now its cards are done. It's going to move one forward and actually repair some damage. It now is going to get +2 to its movement, so that's going to be really nasty. The Automata, the Aurora, will move one forward. And with that having been done, we're going to refill the cards here, and we get to Armored Truck. Armored Camper. All right, so we got some new stuff here. So let's talk a little bit about what we want to do. Oh, and she should have moved to the rest zone during that whole thing, so my apologies for forgetting that. We've got 2 people that we can explore with, one of which has a value of 3, the other of which has a value of 1. And because of the way that the movement round went, currently I am going to get to move first. I think it's going to be a no-brainer. I'm going to have the shooter explore over here, and he's going to pick up a bunch of fuel from this one, and he's also going to go ahead and heal some radiation. And we're going to go ahead and take a moment to use the welding torch to heal, and this can be used any phase. But since we now have 3 damage, we may as well use it, and now we have no damage anywhere. The Automata, who I forgot to deal cards out to, will get to take 3 cards. There's a part of me that thinks that, oh, and I forgot to, oh, crud, he was going to get in. All right, well, he got a contamination from going there, stupidly. I forgot that that storehouse was contaminated. But we got 3 fuel, and that's going to be helpful. Maybe. All right, that's shuffled enough. Deal out 3 cards. All right, first card is going to be 2. Recruit a survivor. Well, there's only 1 survivor, so it doesn't really matter which way the arrow is pointing. He's going to take that survivor. He's going to add 1 more person to his merry band of people. This is all going to slide down. And I've got an armored tanker here, which can hold a whole bunch of stuff. So part of me is thinking that what I really want is something better for the front vehicle. I don't really need... Like, none of these are good. That's the problem. Like, what I really want is this over here, and that's just not something I want to deal with. I could go here. I could get the armored camper, and I could replace it. Replace the rusty container. And the reason I might want to do that is I might want to also pick up some food while we're at it. We've still got the... Oh, I forgot to get rid of the ammo here. So we have no ammo. That's something good to remember. Because we're not going to be able to fire on anybody if we don't have any ammo. You can pass, which basically means you can repair 1 damage and then put your survivor over here in the rest area, which can be handy from time to time. I don't think it's necessarily going to be handy here. I think I'm going to go ahead and get the armored camper. We're going to pick this up. We're going to replace the rusty camper. He's going to go to the rest area. We're going to do the bonus action where we're going to get some weaponry. And then we're also going to get some damage. And we're going to move all the survivors back. Except for the shooter. He's going to be up in the machine gun. So we'll keep one survivor up here in this spot. That way we're not completely being foolish. All right. So that's going to move forward. And we're going to get a Vulcan gun. Holy cow, that would have been nice to get. All right. 2, gather resources. None of these are gather resources. In fact, we can just skip to, it's going to be discard a convoy. Because these are all convoy pieces, and it's going to get rid of the left-hand one. When it does that, it is going to go ahead and start repairs. So it starts in this column, works its way down, then goes to the next column to the left, and it hits a repair. So now it's got its gun back. And we'll slide these down, and hopefully an enemy will not come out. An enemy did not come out. We're going to put some items on here. This is our first object item. Basically, this means that there's an object that we could get as well. Now, it's had a 2, and it's got one more card. So 50-50 chance it's a 2. Otherwise, we're going to see something else go away. So 2. All right, so it's going to look for discard. They're all convoy pieces again. So it's going to simply get rid of the convoy over here, the armored truck. It's going to go ahead and then repair its other damage and slide these down. We're still not looking at an enemy, fortunately, because I would like a round to just deal with good stuff. So it did manage to lead on exploration. We managed to lead on exploration, but it got to do a little bit more exploring than us. It's now going to get to move. So it's going to do, regardless of whether it has fuel or not, it is going to get to move. In addition, it will take shortcuts if it can. It's going to move 3, 4, 5. It's going to move a total of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not quite enough to get to the shortcut. We now have 3 fuel. And, oh, I forgot to rest. Good Lord. That's even more important. I don't have any food to get the shooter rested, unfortunately, but I also don't really need him right yet. So we'll move them there. So I am now more than 6 behind, which means I'll get +2 to my movement. Plus I'll get a total of, I can move 8 essentially. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which put me there. Again, part of me feels like I should just chill. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use 2 of these. I'm going to hold on to 1 more fuel. We'll use this one up here. We'll hold on to 1 more fuel, just simply so that we don't. Is that still a good idea? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. That'll put me right here. And the reason I want to do that is I want to hold on to a fuel for the next round so that I can move. But that is now, we've done our exploration, we've done our rest, we've done our movement. There's no fire weapons this round. We don't have to fire anything. We just go straight to the end of the round. So the end of the round, we're going to go ahead and get this updated. We're going to lose all of these. We're going to say goodbye to the Vulcan gun. Very sad. Get some new cards up here. We've got Rendell and Randall and the final house. So we got all our enemies coming out. And then a radio telescope. So we are going to need some weaponry. We're going to want a lot of weapons. However, we do still get to move for explore first. So I'm pretty sure I know where I'm going first. All right. Next, we're going to look at the end of round stuff over here. We have the same amount of fame. The Autonoma will get to heal somebody, but I have to take radiation from somebody. So I'm going to give it to the leader. Bow. Okay, and then that's it for that. The Automata, Aurora, is going to move 1 more forward. We're going to move this forward and heal 1 spot. All right, so I get to do the first exploration. The co-pilot is going to go out. She is going to explore this part right here, and we're just simply going to grab a bullet. Because I think that's probably better. And some food. Some yummy, yummy food. All right. She can choose to do some repairs. She does not need to right now. She can remove radiation, but she can't remove any radiation for herself. So, unfortunately, that's how that's going to go. Also, I forgot to deal out cards, so we'll deal these ones out. This is the thing I keep forgetting to do the most. And you can see already with 4 survivors, we're going through the deck really quick. We're already getting another card from the previous one. So their first card is going to be 1. So they're going to take these. That's going to go there. And then we're going to draw an object and put this down here as well, and that's going to go face down. If there's an enemy in the slot, there's not. Before movement, if the Autonoma has no fuel, it gains fuel, otherwise gains bullets. We kind of want them to gain the fuel instead. I'd rather not them. Kind of want them to not fight. Everybody's going to slide down. Okay. Part of me wants to go for that Vulcan gun. but I think it might be better if I go for the radio telescope. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go for the radio telescope. I'm going to grab, I do have food. I'm going to grab a fuel and an object. And while I'm here, I'm also going to grab a bullet, some ammo, which also means... Oh, one thing I forgot to do. I think we both went to the ruined settlement, which meant we were both supposed to take one red star there. We were supposed to take the effect of that. That's my fault. So I took the bullet. I still need to take the damage. All right. All right. So that is our convoy. All right. Now they're going to go again. It's 2. It's discard convoy. There's only one thing they can do, which is to go to the radio telescope. So they're going to get those resources. They're going to get another food. They're going to get an ammo. And then at the end of the round, we're going to add some damage to ourselves. This is going to slide down. Armored track truck. I really want that. And unfortunately, I'm not going to get it. It's going to discard this. Jerks. Absolute jerks. That would have been amazing to get. It's going to try to repair the convoy, but there's no damage right now to its convoy. Deal out another card. We got a tanker shipwreck. Lots of fuel. And then finally, the last card is going to be 2. This is going to be, it doesn't really matter. The only card that it can go for is this Vulcan gun. So we'll take that. And then once again, there's no damage left for it to heal, so we don't have to worry about that. All right, so now we're going to go to the rest phase. I'm going to go ahead and eat food to move my co-pilot back up here. And everybody else is going to go up here. I don't like the way that the radiation, basically, you have to be careful about sliding that around. This has got 2 food. The Automata's got 2 food. So essentially, it's going to deal out everything else. It's got all its cards out, which is garbage. So it's going to move first. It's got no fuel right now, but it does get to still move. It's going to go a total of 4 spaces. It is going to go ahead and use the shortcut. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It lands on there, which means it's going to get contaminated. In addition, they are going to gain 1 fuel. So that's my bad. And they would have used it for this before movement at the, before movement. So I should have given that to begin with. And in fact, they don't get contaminated. Why does that never work out for me? We're still going to keep this in order because that actually helps determine stuff with the enemies. The Automata does not gain more survivors. Just looking through the rest of this. Yeah, so they gained a shortcut. What is a shame is if they had added 1 more fuel, which would have been nice. And this should have come down. They would have been on this stage, which meant that I would not have to worry about the enemies this round. So now let's look at my situation. I've got my co-pilot. I'm more than 6 behind. And I've got 2 fuel. And I'm probably going to get I'm going to get like 3 bullets, I think, or 2 bullets in my convoy at the end of this. Plus, I'm going to get 1 more radiation damage, which is freaking awesome. So right now, I can go a total of 2, 4, 6. I can go a total of 6. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which will give me an object, which might be of some use. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Plus, I've got the other object here that I can still claim. I have to go check to see. I should have already claimed that, actually. Oh, any phase, heal 2 radiation. I'm just going to use that right now. No ifs, ands, or buts. So if I do use both these fuel, it will get me to here. And I think that that's a good idea. So I claim that resource, which will give me, let's put that there. Let's use up those fuels. And we've got antifreeze. Increase the exploration skill of 1 of your survivors to 3 for this phase. So that'll be really helpful. You can only carry up to 3 items at a time, so you may as well use them. You will get points for them at the end, but it does. You may as well just use them as you come across. All right, so we've done the movement phase. We did the rest phase. It's now time for the fire weapons phase. That means both of these will come out and ambush us. So the first thing that's going to happen is that Rendell and Randall will ambush us. Each player chooses to lose 1 resource on his convoy or receive a bullet in the left-handmost side of the convoy. So we're going to go ahead and take the bullet in the left-handmost side up here. And they're going to move up here, and they're going to take one of these. And they're going to be in the coast. I'm just going to put them right here. We don't need to worry about anybody in the valley anymore, so I'm just going to get rid of this tag over here. We can actually get rid of these two because you can never go backwards. So I'm not going to worry about those. And then final Hal, each player chooses to put 1 radiation on one of his survivors, or his convoy receives 2 damage down on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and receive the damage on the leader. In terms of this dude, he is going to lose 1 resource. It's the only resource he has left, which means he's not going to be able to fire, and one of his survivors is going to get contaminated. All right. So pretty much the firing order would be me first, or the automata first, and then me second. And unfortunately, the automata has no bullets left. I do have bullets, so I'm going to take a fire. I wish I had something better, but I'm going to have to fire at this guy with 2. With my 2 gun. I'm just going to use the bullet to cover it up and hopefully remember to pull it away. So 2 does 2 bullets, plus the 1 extra from his ability means that this is gone. And because I'm going to flip 1 just to determine who gets it, but essentially I'm the only person on here, so I'm going to go up 1 in fame, and I'm going to get this as loot, which is the Gauss cannon. Oh, we are going to replace the machine gun with the Gauss cannon because we can. Okay. Now, this was a used ammo, so we're not going to worry about that. We're now going to go again, because, again, we'll go back and forth between automata and me, and then automata and me. However, since the automata is out, we're just going to go ahead and use another bullet here on this 4 gun. Oh, my God, this is so awesome. Let's see what happens with the 4. It's 4 bullets. Rendell and Randall, you are toast. Once again, I'm the only person who does damage. My fame is going to go up. And it is the Biomass Turbo Truck. This is going to replace the front of our truck. All right, so as I mentioned before, damage when you're replacing part of your truck goes away. Resources and survivors just get put to the side. In this case, I can move the survivor there if I want. The new item is going to go here. And this is kind of why I wish I had waited on the fuel. Oh, this is... Because now I've got a 4, which means if I can just get some really good fuel, I will be able to zoom right to the end of the game. Just checking something real quick. I will say this does take a little bit of a longer amount of time to play than some other games, but I'm enjoying this. Like, I'm having a good time. So that's the enemy round. Now we go to the... that's all the enemy stuff. Now we're going to go to the end of the round. So we're going to move all this down. I know what I'm going with first. The Jackal comes out, the Explorer comes out, and the Turbo Truck comes out. What's nice is the Biomass Turbo Truck has a capacity of 3 trailers, so I can put 1 more trailer on this. Then we're going to do all of the... We're going to move that to 5. Move this to 5. And then I'm going to have to add 1 damage to my convoy. So we'll add it here. Move this guy back up front. Let's see. We have to add another damage to my convoy. We'll add it to the baggage rack. We do have more fame than the automata. However, we have 2 more fame. So this is going to be a little bit better than I thought. We're going to add 1 damage to one of ours, and they're going to heal 1. And that's it. So that is all of the stuff from there. We're going to shuffle that up, and we're going to start the next round. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about what I'm doing. I'm going straight for the going straight for that fuel. We're going to go ahead and put this here. All right, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4. The turn order doesn't change again. I'm still in the lead, in the trailing, so I'm still get to explore first at least. I am sending the co-pilot there first and foremost. We're just going to grab those fuel. At the same time, we're also going to go ahead and repair part of the truck. This does not exhaust the location. She is... Ooh, no, she can't do that. She can't. I have to send the shooter there because there is one radiation on that tanker shipwreck that I have to take, essentially. So that is irritating. All right, so 2. Discard these are all survivors, so it's going to be the rightmost survivor. That's going to get discarded. They're going to get another survivor to add to here. And I can do this. That doesn't go anywhere. This comes down. Fallout shelter. 2 food. And here's the thing. So I'm looking over what I've got here, and I feel like what I want to do is I want to go to the Fallout shelter, even though it's going to be negative damage. Mostly so I can get another bullet and some fuel. The only way I can do that is if I increase... If I use the antifreeze capsules... I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to use the antifreeze capsules... I can say words. To go ahead and give the co-pilot super movement ability, and we're going to grab both of these. We're going to lose 1 fame in the process, unfortunately. Now we're going to go reveal the next card. We got a 2. It's going to gather resources if it can, it cannot, or recruit a survivor. So it's going to recruit a survivor. It'll get rid of the merchant. I don't think they get to keep this. This is actually, this is an encounter. This is not a survivor. So they're actually going to get the jackal. It's my bad. Now they've got 6 survivors. They cannot get a 7th. If they get a 7th, they get to heal somebody, but that's it. It's going to come down. And now I'm kind of screwed because I can't really do anything with the leader. He's got too much damage to him. What I really want to do is I really want to go to that. I think what I should have done is I should have taken the food, to be honest. Thinking about how the game is going to end. I can now use each fuel. I'm going to be able to get 12 movement on this last movement, which will catch me up with the Aurora and help me win the game. So I think for now I'm just going to have this dude just rest. Just frustrating. I would rather not do that. I would rather go here, heal, get these items, but there's no place for me to put those items now. Like, I can't put them anywhere. I could go here and use the bonus action, but then I'd still get the radiation from there. So it's sort of a lose-lose overall. Yeah, I should have thought about that a little bit better. Anyway, This is going to take one, so this is going to get the food and the fuel. Okay, and then that's going to go away. See, that's what I was hoping for, is that I would take that one out of the way, and then I'd be able to deal with the merchant instead. Stupid game. All right, let's try to get through the rest of this. And then last thing it's going to do is get two, discard encounter, discard convoy. So it's going to go for convoy, which means it'll heal some damage, but it's got no damage right now. This is the only convoy left. So that will go away, and we'll move all this down. And we're going to get orphan. Oh, the poor orphan. We're going to leave the orphan behind. That's so sad. Okay, so that's it for the movement. We're now going to do all the fun stuff. We're going to rest, so he's going to come up here. These two are actually not going to get that far. They're just going to come here, which is why I feel like I should have gone for the food instead. And now we're going to use one food here to get one more card out. And then we're going to do movement. So it's going to have a movement of 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means it's going to get a radiation. Did it have the shortcut out? It did not have the shortcut out. That's the shortcut one. So that's the only card it didn't reveal, which is good because that would have allowed it to skip 2 spaces and actually end up there. We're going to go ahead and blow through our movement. We've got a base of movement of 4. We're going to use all of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Not quite caught up yet. That's irritating. That's really irritating. I should have. Oh, stupid. Very stupid. There's nobody to fire weapons on, so we're not going to worry about that. And then we're going to do all this stuff. So I have to add some damage to my convoy. I have to add, let's see, 2 damage. We have the same amount of fame, so I'm not going to worry about that. The Automata did have fuel, so he's going to gain a bullet. I forgot to do that. They're going to get somebody sick, and I think at this point we lose somebody. I think we're going to have to lose the shooter, because we have to gain 1 radiation, and everybody here is going to be sick. We could do the co-pilot. You know what? Let's do the co-pilot, just in case some weapon, like some badass comes out, which sucks. That sucks big time. And I think that's everything. So we've done all that fun stuff. Hoping I didn't just shake that. Now we're going to get rid of these. The bounty hunter would have been nice. The bounty hunter would have been an extra 2 points at the end of the game. And this derailed train card is -2. So I don't know what we're going to do here. We are now ahead, by the way, so it will actually get to explore first. We've got mine storehouse, which means we have to take 2 bullets if we go there. We've got a cannon and an armored container. So there's only one thing that we want to do here, and that is get the orphan. And we're not going to be able to do that, because I'm looking at this realizing that there's just no way. The captain has too much damage on him. I don't think I have to go here. I think I might go here just to get the fuel. And even though that'll keep the captain completely irradiated, it might be the only thing I can really do. But first, we're going to go ahead and deal out some cards. Oh, and that should be on 6, which means now it's going to get even more movement. And it's going to basically deal out all 6 cards. And go first. So first, it's going to try to recruit a survivor. It gets the orphan. Son of a bitch. It can't do anything about the number of survivors, but it can heal one of its 6 survivors. Travelers. Really should have gotten that food. The only thing I can do is go to the derailed train camp. Um, Basically, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go into exhausted. I'm going to do, you can do the bonus before you do this. So I'm going to do the bonus to remove one. So I can go to the derailed train car to get one. And I am kind of curious about what I can actually do here. I think I might, no, I have to grab the food. I mean, I have to grab the fuel. Because without the fuel, there is no point in continuing on with the game. So I'm going to grab the fuel. But then I have to discard this because there's no place to put it. That sucks. Oh, I forgot. I should have moved. I was supposed to have gone one more ahead because of this +1 down here. That was stupid. So I'm actually on 4. I almost caught up with it then. Oh, God, that sucks. All right, so that's out. So then what next? Discard convoy. So it'll be discard convoy, and it'll be the right-hand side. There's no damage for it to fix, so just moves on to the next one. We've got our first warrior. Gather resources. So there's only one gather resources, so it'll grab the left-hand side. Grabs 1 fuel, 1 food. It's going to grab 1. It's going to get rid of both of those. Oops. Should have grabbed 1 of those and an object, which means it's going to take 1 off here. And I'm not supposed to look at it. Everything else comes down. All right. 3, which means it's going to get another survivor, which means it heals another person. Then we're going to move this down. I'm not going to bother putting anything on the old refinery because it's not going to get drawn from. 2, discard encounter. So it's going to get rid of this encounter. Mortal Wolf comes down. Old refinery. Cannon. All right. Lovely. Okay, so now it comes to the movement phase. I do get to move first. But first we're going to do rest. These guys are going to come back over here. They are thoroughly irradiated. We're going to get to use 1 fuel. That's it. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. We've made it. We have made it to the Aurora. If I had made it on the previous turn, it would have ended the game and not ended up with this coarse crap now. Because essentially it's going to get 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1. So it's going to go 7 this time around. It's going to take advantage of any shortcuts, but there are no shortcuts for it to take advantage of. 7 is going to put it right here on the 4. So technically I'm still ahead of it. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything as far as movement goes. Yeah. He does gain a bullet. I missed that part of it. Come on. Come on. There you go. All right. However, now we get the ambush phase. Each convoy receives a damage to its left-hand side or to its and 1 in its bottom. So I'm going to go ahead, since we've got 2 bullets. I'm going to have it damage up here, and I'm going to have it damage down here. All right. And then over here, it's going to receive damage to D in this column. And then we're going to shuffle. 1 hour and 8 minutes for this. And also C. If it had come up D again, we would have just gone 1 more left in that column. All right, so now the advantage of moving first and still being in the lead is I do get to fire first. So I'm going to fire with this 4 up here and try to see if I can take out good old Immortal Wolf. We're going to go ahead and pair that up with this. Our hope is that we can actually do 4 damage. It is 3 damage. But since the shooter is here, they're going to do 4 damage, and that's it. That's enough damage to take out the Immortal Wolf. So we're going to go ahead and get this. Our fame goes up by 1. And we get the nuclear generator, which we'll go ahead and just simply have this replace the rack here at the end of the game. That's going to go away. And good old Automata does not get a chance to fire. So now we go to the end of the round. We don't update the cards at all, but we do have to deal with this. I have to add 1 bullet to my convoy somewhere, and I do not have any more places to take damage, so I'm going to let them damage the guns since we don't need them. We are 1 more up on our fame track, so we're going to have to lower that. We have to add 1 more bullet, and we're going to lose a survivor because we have to basically add 1 more radiation, and so we lose that guy. That was brutal. I cannot believe I almost lost all my survivors. That is a little frustrating. Okay, so let's talk about how this gets scored at the end, because I'm pretty sure that the Etano won, no matter what. The scoring phase is going to work. Let's go ahead and take a look at the scoring here in the back. So the Etano will get one fame point for each space that its convoy is ahead of mine, considering shortcuts only if I have the ability to use them, so we don't have to worry about that. Any fame points gained or lost during the game, i.e. the number of stars on the space of its fame track that the fame counter is on. So currently it's on 1. 1 fame point for every 2 objects and or loot cards it has in any combination rounded down. So this is going to be a total of 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. So that's 1.5 rounded down, so that'll be 1 point. If you or the Automata has reached the Aurora, the Automata adds 1 fame point for each uncontaminated survivor token it has. So it will actually gain 6 more from that. So unbelievable. 8 so far. So that is going to be 8. Now, if neither of us had done that, we would then take a look at these cargo boxes down here. It's a whole complicated thing. Basically, I think you look at each one where there's no damage. So it would have gotten 6 points from that as well. So, boo. So that is the Automata's point. That's 8 points total. For me, my point total might actually benefit from having gotten a fair amount of cards that helped out here. So we got 1. We also got 2, 3, 4, 5. That might be it. I think we just got the 5 points. We are 1 point ahead, so technically we've got 6 points. So yeah, we got 6 points. So the final score was 8-6. The Automata won. Basically, the radiation just got the better of me. I feel like I could have done a better job dealing with that, but I am glad that we were able to take out that last threat. The last loot token, by the way, this one is Artificial Ecosystem. Basically, you're going to get 1 point plus 1 point for every food that you have at the end of the game. And the loot at the beginning of the game was a prisoner, an extra survivor, which would have been helpful. I didn't really do a whole lot in gaining survivors, and I think that might have been my weakness here, because I didn't really have a whole lot of ways to spread around the damage. But it's still pretty close, and there's not, the combat to this is really, really finicky, but I still really enjoy this game. I think this is a really good game. It's really thematic. It looks beautiful. I am going to give this one more go because on the back of this board, believe it or not, there is a harder side. Look at that, the beta map. So we're not going to do that tomorrow because tomorrow I've already got a game that I've recorded. That's going to be Escape the Dark Castle, which is my 3rd least favorite game. It might be my 4th least favorite. It's definitely up there. It's not as bad as Sojourn, but it's definitely going to be, you're going to hear some complaining. And then I'll be back in 2 days' time with the beta side of this, and we'll go ahead and play that then. Until then, I will see you all later. Ciao, everybody.